As Judy said, I am an employee giving coordinator with City of Hope, but City of Hope is also a partner with Community Health Charities of New York. And Community Health Charities, or CHC, is a federation, a health federation. So it's a conglomeration of about 50 or so health-related charities, everything from our organization to American Diabetes Association, the JDRF, St. Jude's, Alzheimer Association. So it's all the best and most nationally recognized charities that are part of CHC New York. And one thing that CHC is really well known for is vetting their charities and making sure that they're getting charities that are making the most impact and that are the most efficient with their fundraising dollar. So most of the charities are at the very least 75%, although most of them are closer to 85% of every dollar going to what you're donating to. City of Hope, it's at about 90% right now. So we're very, very interested in keeping efficient with our fundraising abilities and making sure that every dollar makes a significant impact throughout the campaign. Now, just to tell you a little bit about what City of Hope is, not a lot of people on the East Coast really know who we are, and one of those reasons kind of falls back to fundraising efficiency. Because we don't advertise. We don't spend a lot of money on print advertising or television. It's all extra overhead that impacts our efficiency. So now if you're in the medical community, that might be different. You would know who City of Hope is and what we represent. We are a research and treatment facility. We're located all the way out in California on 150 acres. Now, where City of Hope is, there's a hospital, and every other building around it is either family and patient services or it's a research facility. So we have dedicated research facilities to blood disorders and to genetic testing and to diabetes and endocrinology. And all these researchers in these buildings, what they're doing is trying to come up with innovative ways, less overt ways to treat cancer, diabetes, HIV/AIDS, and with a real focus on immunotherapies. So we're doing a lot with T-cell therapies. Right now, we're working on a therapy that came from the research that we're conducting, turned into a clinical trial that just started this spring for type 1 diabetes. And in this trial, the participants are receiving transplants of T cells that have been modified. So these T cells enter the body, and we use another medication to propagate them and take over the defective T cells in the body. So just a little backstory, type 1 diabetes is autoimmune related. So it's the body fighting itself, and that's why you can't process glucose and you're not producing insulin. So most people that have type 1 diabetes have to take insulin injections, or they have to wear a pump. So what this clinical trial hopes to accomplish is to reset the immune system, reboot it, so that by the end of the trial, all the participants will be insulin independent permanently. So it's looking to be a cure for type 1 diabetes. With the T-cell therapies, we're also using that with cancer treatments. We had about 2 years ago, there was a woman that had a glioma, which is a type of brain tumor. And she had gone to multiple doctors and finally came to City of Hope. Nobody was able to treat it. Nobody could remove it because it's a brain tumor. You can't really combat it with heavy radiation. Chemotherapy was dangerous. So what one of our neuro-oncologists figured out how to do was take a T cell called a memory T cell and re-engineer it so that it would take the chemistry, the chemicals fighting the tumor, directly to the tumor. So it avoided all this bombardment of radiation. As I said, it was non-surgical. So technically, everybody was treating it as a terminal illness. So with this type of T cell therapy, they were able to combat it and destroy the tumor. And the great thing about the memory T cell was able to recognize what that glioma is. Now, gliomas have a high reoccurrence rate. So once you remove it, if you can remove it or combat it, it's going to grow back. So these T cells recognize that. So as soon as it tries to get a foothold, it immediately attacks it. So it's a very promising way of treating cancers and diabetes, using your own body to combat the problems, to kill the diseases. We're also looking into a lot of food studies, looking at the natural powers of certain foods. There's 5 in particular that we're studying right now. There's mushrooms, blueberries, grapeseed, cinnamon, and pomegranates. Now, we know that grapeseed and blueberry and pomegranates all have high antioxidants. They're good for you to help get rid of free radical cells, which may eventually turn into tumors. But what they also have are enzymes in them that help interrupt hormone levels. So if you have high hormone levels, like estrogen or testosterone, what that does is put you at a greater risk. And if you develop a tumor, that's what feeds the tumor. So they're picking apart these foods, and some of them they actually used in the treatment of cancers. There was this huge study with breast cancer patients using mushrooms. So we started with white button mushrooms, and what they did was dehydrated them, turned them into little pills for the sake of consistency. And what they saw was the patients that were taking these mushroom pills, it was cutting the growth of the tumor. So they stopped growing, and in some instances it actually shrank the tumors. So it's pretty incredible to think that something as simple as mushrooms would have that much impact. So this is why we're investigating them, to see if we can use them as healthy, natural preventatives and use them in the course of treatment, or pick them apart and find those different chemicals, those compounds, to be used in future treatments or future medications. So anybody here that can further the campaign and direct monies, not necessarily to City of Hope, but to CHC in general. All those different health organizations, we all are kind of interconnected. We receive a lot of direct donations, but we also receive a lot of donations from CHC themselves, from the ADA, JDRF, because of our work in diabetes, just gave us a $3 million grant a couple of years ago. So it's these organizations that rely on each other to help get to the end of finding a cure for diseases, and it's your dollar that really makes that impact. So I really appreciate everybody who is going to make a great effort in this campaign to make a huge impact, not only with our organizations, but all organizations in this campaign. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you.